Imagine sitting through a baseball game that refuses to end. 33 innings, 8 hours and 25 minutes of swings, strikeouts, and pure exhaustion.
You were the only fan.
I was the only fan on the first base side at the end of the game.
The concession stand ran out of food. Players burned broken bats in barrels just to stay warm. By 4 a.m., everyone's begging for mercy, and here's the kicker. The game still isn't finished until 2 months later. This wasn't a big league game. It wasn't even televised. But somehow it became baseball's longest night.
It was a cold April night, Easter Eve.
The wind was blowing in really hard. It wasn't the ideal conditions.
This isn't some tall tale. It happened in Rhode Island in 1981. And in the middle of it all, a couple of young prospects named Cal Ripken Jr. and Wade Boggs.
The wind was blowing in really hard. It wasn't the ideal conditions.
Easter Sunday, I thought about resurrection. I thought about redemption. It's like a spiritual moment unfolding. If there is going to be the longest game in baseball history, it belongs in Pawtucket, Rhode Island.
April 18th, 1981. Pawtucket, Rhode Island. The kind of night where the wind cuts through your jacket and every foul ball feels like it's blowing straight back into the stands. McCoy Stadium wasn't some glamorous big league park. It was minor league baseball at its grittiest. Rusty bleachers, a couple thousand fans braving the cold. Nobody had the faintest clue they were about to witness history.
Cool and windy night here in Pawtucket, Rhode Island.
On the field, you had two AAA squads, the Pawtucket Red Sox, Boston's farm team, and the Rochester Red Wings, Baltimore's affiliate. A matchup that, on paper, meant nothing more than another spring game in the International League, but both dugouts had future legends tucked inside. For Pawtucket, a 23-year-old Wade Boggs, still learning how to turn his sweet swing into a big league career. For Rochester, a tall, iron-willed shortstop named Cal Ripken Jr., just months away from making the show. Neither of them knew it yet, that their names would one day hang in Cooperstown.
Felt like a blizzard, but without the snow.
So a lot of people left during the course of the night.
First pitch came just after 8 p.m. following a delay for faulty stadium lights. The crowd of 1,700 bundled up and settled in. And at first, it felt like any other game. Rochester scratched out a run in the 7th. Pawtucket clawed back with a sac fly in the 9th. Extra innings were nothing unusual in baseball. Players had all been through it before. But as the innings piled up, the cold sank deeper. The wind howled harder, and with every out, a simple AAA ball game started to drift into the unthinkable. Extra innings are supposed to add drama. That night in Pawtucket, they added chaos.
But they scored the 21st inning, and we came back and tied it in the 21st inning. Now that is, to me, an unbelievable feat. And that is something that deserves as much credit as the game itself.
By the time the 10th inning rolled around, it still felt like baseball. Cold, windy, uncomfortable baseball, but baseball all the same. Then midnight hit. The stadium PA system clicked on, and someone cheerfully wished the crowd a happy Easter. That's when everyone realized how far into the night they already were. Normally, minor league games had a curfew. 12:50 a.m., lights out, call it a draw. But here's the twist. The umpires didn't have that curfew rule in their manual that season. So when Rochester and Pawtucket kept trading zeros, the crew shrugged and let it roll. In their eyes, if nobody scored, there was no reason to stop.
I found out what a professional was after that game, and I carried it through on my professional life.
What followed was less a baseball game and more a survival test. Concession stands ran dry. No hot dogs, no coffee. Eventually, staff started pouring free hot chocolate for the few fans still hanging on. Out in the bullpens, players broke apart benches and smashed cracked bats, using them to build fires inside metal barrels just to fight off the wind out of center was so brutal it knocked down almost every fly ball. Guys were swinging until their eyes burned from the cold. And the innings just kept crawling by. In the 18th, Pawtucket pitcher Luis Aponte was taken out of the game. He went home to his wife. She didn't believe him when he said they were still playing. She locked him out until he finally dragged her back to McCoy to prove it. That's how insane things had gotten. Then came the 21st. Rochester finally broke through. Dave Huppert lofted a double that drifted in the wind, bringing home a run. 2-1, Red Wings. Relief swept the field. At last, someone was ahead.
Well, we tied it up in the 9th, and that seemed forever to get to just to the 9th inning. And then we kept playing, and the next thing you know, Here it is, a 21st inning, they scored.
But baseball is cruel. In the bottom half, Dave Koza answered with a double of his own. Then Wade Boggs, future Hall of Famer, still a nobody in AAA, lined another to tie the game again. Boggs admitted later he wept in the dugout. His teammates weren't even sure whether to hug him or punch him. And from there, the game slid past absurd. It was something else entirely.
Everyone on the field, on both teams, being competitive as we are, we didn't want to let that go then either. We spent a lot of time out here. We wanted to win this game.
By the 22nd inning, the game had tipped fully into madness. Pawtucket manager Joe Morgan got tossed arguing a call. The umpires threatened to call the police if he didn't leave the dugout. Morgan laughed and shot back, "At this hour? No cops are coming." That's how far gone it was.
We wondered at some point, and everybody was kind of whispering around, is there a curfew? But that was really never addressed, and the umpires didn't know.
In the press box, official scorer Bill George switched pen colors just to keep his sanity. Blue ink for the first 12 innings, red through the 22nd, black for everything after. His scorebook, filled with rainbow desperation, now sits in the Hall of Fame. Proof that someone really kept track pitch. By the time the 30th rolled around, only 19 fans were left in the stands. Everyone else had either frozen out or given up. The diehards who stuck it out were rewarded later with lifetime passes to McCoy Stadium. They had literally earned them.
They stuck another bat, and you can literally see guys holding their hands over this open fire to keep warm.
And it wasn't just the fans losing it. The stadium music guy had to shut down the speakers. He'd been looping the same handful of songs for hours. The Candyman, Thank God I'm a Country Boy, until the players threatened mutiny. Even the soundtrack had broken down. Then came the 32nd inning. Crew Chief Jack Lights briefly disappeared during an at-bat, ducking away to take a phone call from the International League president. He missed 6 pitches. When he came back, he announced that this would be the final inning no matter what. Rochester tried to end it right there, but it was out, and the game was still tied. Minutes later, the sun was starting to rise over Pawtucket. Just after 4 a.m., the order finally came down. Suspend the game. 8 hours of baseball, 32 innings, and still no winner.
That picture was in the Baseball Hall of Fame. And that's me with the hat on, cheering. And this is the declaration from the National Baseball Hall of Fame.
When the players stumbled off the field just after 4 a.m., nobody thought the story was finished. They figured it would fade into minor league trivia. But then baseball went on strike. By June, with the majors shut down, the unfinished marathon in Pawtucket suddenly became front-page news. On June 23rd, McCoy Stadium looked nothing like it had on that freezing Easter morning. Instead of a few dozen half-frozen fans, 5,756 people packed the stands. National reporters showed up, camera crews were there, all to watch a single inning of baseball.
We continued to play and play and play and play.
Bob Ojeda got the call for Pawtucket in the top of the 33rd. He retired the first batter, Cal Ripken Jr., who had already slogged through 13 at-bats back in April, singled to left. The crowd buzzed, but Ojeda locked in, striking out Floyd Rayford for the 60th strikeout of the game.
That no inning shall begin after 12:50 a.m. disappeared. It's as if it fell out of the notebook, rolled under the table, and no one saw it. And the game continues.
Bottom half, Marty Barrett took one off the arm, Chico Walker singled. Then Rochester made the strangest choice of the night, intentionally walking Russ Larrabee, who was 0 for 11 with 7 strikeouts. Bases loaded, no outs. Dave Koza stepped in. Koza wasn't Ripken or Boggs. He wasn't destined for the Hall. He was just a grinder chasing a dream. But on a 2-2 curveball from Cliff Speck, he lined a single into left. Barrett trotted home. Game over. After 33 innings and 8 hours, 25 minutes of baseball, the Paw Sox finally won. And then they played the regularly scheduled game. 9 innings. Rochester took that one 7-6. Business as usual.
33 innings, 8 hours and 25 minutes. The longest game in organized baseball history.
In the box score, it's just a 3-2 Pawtucket win. But the story behind it, that's baseball folklore. 33 innings, 8 hours and 25 minutes. 2 future Hall of Famers, 60 strikeouts, over 200 at-bats, 19 frozen fans who earned lifetime passes, and 1 walk-off single from a guy who never sniffed the big leagues. That's what makes it unforgettable. Not because it was pretty baseball, but because it was absurd. It was the game nobody wanted to play, but nobody could stop. A missing curfew rule turned a simple minor league matchup into the longest professional baseball game ever played. All that for a single run in the 33rd inning. Baseball's always been a test of patience, but this one pushed the sport past its breaking point and straight into history. Would you have stayed for 33 innings?